Hi guys, I don't think you know how excited I am to make this video today. I programmed a show this summer and I did it with all recipes, and I've put a lot of little tidbits of like different things that I've learned in some shorts. But I wanted to kind of go through a little bit of an overview about kind of what the process looked like, a couple of things that I learned that maybe I would do differently, and some things that I really liked. And hopefully this will help you with your process as well. Anyway, here we go. Okay. All right, so as we've discussed many times before, it's like we don't know how many groups we're going to need, and that's kind of been the discussion. And so it's been interesting for me to kind of go back and look at this and see like what groups didn't I use, and you can tell what groups you did or didn't use somewhere just by this little arrow on the group itself that's letting you know that, hey, it was used somewhere in a queue. So like these four I didn't use at all, right? This one I apparently didn't use, but I used the rest of these three, and how much they were all used. You can see that pretty easily by going to edit setting and then list references. And then you can say, hey, what is it referencing? What is it depending on? So that's really fun. Like, oh my goodness, this group here must have such a long list. I swear it's in 433 places in the show. Like, wow. Very referenced group. Don't want to mess that one up. But yeah, so this has been fun. Like finding out that this one group could be used in so many different ways was really interesting. Like with bump buttons and just saying groups of four. Like I know you guys posted that video a while back, a couple weeks ago, but groups of four, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I can use one group but get like 4 different groups out of it. And it's crazy. And I think we're going to get even more options to do that in the future. You'll notice here that we have some say A and some say B. This is because we had 2 rigs, an A rig and a B rig that we would swap between. So I had to have the groups that I programmed with are in this like top section here. And so the pixel curve is, for instance, one of the groups that we had an A and a B. It was literally just one light was cut, but that makes a difference. And so that would make my group slightly different. And instead of having to update those groups every day, I knew what they were going to be. I then these are the ones I programmed with, copied them down. You can see these ones aren't referenced anywhere, but this is the group that if I selected it, shows me what's in the A rig. And then these are the groups that if I selected them, show me what's in the B rig. Again, they're not referenced anywhere, but I keep them in the show file. And then we were using a macro that would then copy up and copy over these groups here to be the groups we used for the day. So that we did that with a couple. We had these Titan tubes in the set. Same concept. These are the groups I programmed with, and these are what I copied up from for the A and the B rig. The key light, there was just like a couple minor things that were different. So again, I did the same thing, and then our pixel tape was also the same. So this was a lot to build, but the Touring LD has had such simplicity since we built it, and he's been on the road. He literally presses a macro. It's really fun, and switches to the B rig. And then it runs, it takes a minute. The only caveat to all of this was I had to make this really stupid, not clever at all macro. I kept calling it my not clever macro, which just relabeled all these groups. Because when you can't have anything of the same name twice in MA, and then we noticed with all this copying, it was just really making the names like not very legible. So we needed a way to just keep this simple, and we were in the middle of 2 days rehearsals. This is the first time we saw the B rig. We didn't have time to come up with anything else. So I was like, you know what? Let's just sit here. Like between the two of us, we can type this macro really fast that just relabels everything and keeps it nice for the tour. So that's something we did. Honestly, if someone has a better idea of how they would do this in the future, please let me know. I haven't dug into it any further. It was just one of those, we needed this in the moment. So hey, and so this macro here, all it's doing is it's just copying up the lines for the pixel tape and the key light and the curves and the tubes and all that. So that it's the same copies over these here. So that was a big thing that we did. Another thing that we did, which I don't know if I do this the same way again, I'm not sure. This is kind of still like a work in progress, is when it came to the key lighting, because there was so much of it and so many little things, I wanted to make sure that there was a really quick way to see all of the groups within the key lighting that were used, because they were kind of spread out throughout each song with all presets were laid out. They were per song, and so it would take the LD a little bit of time to have to dig through that. So I wanted to give him a really quick way of getting everything, so I threw in a layout view by song. I don't know if this is the best way in the future, but it is a way that we did it at the moment. And then with the key lighting, because it changed per festival, this is not something that we were touring with. we would just clone like normally, but he had to make sure the groups were also cloned because these groups are then found in the cue list. So this cue list is a pretty good example because this is dancer position 1, dancer position 2. And so I wanted to also make sure as I was queuing this out that it was really easy to find all of this if you were just scrolling through the cue list. So we always made sure that we put the key lighting in its own part. It did make it easy when we were changing things in the moment, but also it made it easy when we got into those festival and like show situations where we needed to see which cue it was. It was really easy to find where to go. Another thing that was a little bit harder, I don't know if that's necessarily the right word, but how do you manage all this in the cue list? I'm super thankful that the show was on the like easier side. Let's look at this song here. When it came to programming some of the things within the spot fixtures, because the designer doesn't use gobos, it doesn't use a lot of like position changes. So as far as like managing the data, the thing I really had to manage was color. This one did not cook, see? We had to manage the color, right? And so I always made sure that every cue that we put color in, oh, I know, this is not actually a good example. This was a good example until we took the green out of it. Let's go to maybe this song here. This one has a few color changes as well. Yeah, so I always made sure like I could really easily scroll through a list and be like, okay, color change here, switch to baby pink here, switch to saturated pink here. This was, the designer we changed the color quite a few times in some of the different songs as the content kept changing. And I really found that color was the thing I had to keep being able to find quickly. So I always made sure that all these color lines were stored in their own cue part as well. Seriously helped the process. I just wrapped up another show where I programmed like how everything was marked in separate parts too. So it was really easy because we were marking gobo and color and focus and all of these things. And so in my mark queue, instead of throwing everything in this one mark queue, like this was fairly simple, so I didn't feel like I had to break it out. But that other show that I was working on, we really did have to break it out per fixture type, just so that it was easy to go back and find. So these part cues, they helped a lot, especially on the band lights too. I always made sure that they came in and out in a part as well. And this is just because some of these cues could get like, you can get a lot of recipe lines in them, and it's getting more difficult to manage that because the console doesn't have any ways of, it's a list of lines in the order that you created them. So anyway, that's on the list of things that we're all trying to figure out like the best way to manage. As far as phasers go, I did make sure every single phaser I programmed was universal. And except for this one, look, see, we're all learning, right? There's some selective data in that one. But I guess I should say I didn't make sure. I did my very, very best to make sure that everything was universal as far as phasers go. And as far as I heard, the Turing LD hasn't told me that he's had to update any of that stuff. And so I think it's a win. I think we did it. It's really exciting. The tour is still running. It's got a bunch more stops around the world. But yeah, so I mean, we did it. It was exciting. Oh yeah, and one more thing that I really wanted to say about groups, when it came to the pixel type, we also had these like gridded groups for them. And so some of them, you can see they weren't necessarily used. Oh wait. They weren't all necessarily used, but having all of these helped to make sure I could program the pixel tape with how I wanted. So we needed the gridded group if we wanted to make it look like it was going like across the across the tube, oh my goodness, across the cage. And then we had the linear ones for some of those more, the ones we wanted to go around the squares. So yeah, so there was a lot of groups that had to be created with the pixel tape itself. But again, like I said before, once they were created, it was really simple when switching between the A and the B rig because we just copy up to those groups that I programmed with. Oh, and one other thing about when we're programming with like recipe specifically, there's not a cue only option. And so I did find myself, can't remember the song that it's in right now, of course, but actually I think it's in the one I was already in. I did find myself using tracking distance a number of times. And if you're not already familiar with the concept of tracking distance, I highly recommend, if you want to be programming with recipes, just to familiarize yourself with it, because what it's doing is it's allowing anything that's in this queue. So like this queue here, 4.5, we drop a lot of the things to turn off. We have this like slow-mo strobe thing, and I only need it to happen in this one queue, and then we actually jump back in. But instead of having everything change, because I would have had to literally go back and find all of these recipe lines for all of these fixtures, like what were they doing before? Instead, what I did was I just set the tracking distance to delta 0, which means it's not going to track past this queue, and it'll go back into the next queue. So if you're not familiar with tracking distance, but you want to be using recipes, I do highly, highly recommend going and learning that feature. One other thing that I also like to do, which I'm not, like, I wish this was a toggle on and off, but it's not. And so in the meantime, we just make do with what we have, right? And we're really thankful for the recipe editor. But when you turn it on, edit recipe, it's not like an edit recipe on or an edit recipe off. It's just edit recipe programmer, which makes it a toggle, which doesn't make it a toggle. And yeah, not a huge fan. But I wish, like, I loaded this file into 2.3 for this tutorial here. So like, I super wish I had this little indicator here. It would have been so nice while I was programming, but I didn't. So I was constantly having to look like, okay, is it on in the groups or is the presets or whatever? So that always took me a little bit of time. I'm excited to program another show with this indicator because I think I'll spend less time looking for it. And one other thing that I do to kind of help me manage this feature, because I'm constantly turning it on and off, is I do keep a macro on my X keys that literally just is edit recipe. And so I use this to turn on edit recipe or turn it off. Sometimes I'm still having to like fish for whether or not it is on or off. Like I said, I look forward to one day when it's a toggle. But having this macro on handy was really nice because I didn't find myself using the edit recipe window a lot if I did need it up, because it's not something I've programmed with before, so it wasn't in my views and I didn't really know where to put it, like where did I want it. I actually found that I really liked it just on the X key. If I would go this macro, it would call this view 56 into screen 1. And so that would allow me to just see the edit recipe editor really quick. I could glance at it, like double check it, and then go back to whatever I was doing by clicking on a view. And so having that just at a click of a button where it would always pop on the screen, I liked that too. I don't know if I'll keep programming that way, but it worked for this show. And then along with Cook Programmer, that was my other recipe macro that I used a lot, was Cook Programmer Overwrite. Not going to go into all the reasons I used it now. I've talked about that in some other videos. Please go check those out. So, all right. Thank you so much for coming today. I know this wasn't about phasers, but this was a little bit about like how I got through this recipe workflow, and I hope it helps you too. Talk to you guys next week.